Well, it's been a hell of a show today. We've had some cracking guests on. We've had a lot of great wrestling to react to. But obviously, and I'm not saying this just to butter him up before we even begin.
I'm sorry. I've had this allergic reaction. Will, keep going. You're doing great.
The voice that you hear there joining us to finish the show is the leader of the Pinnacle, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Max, how are you doing, sir?
I'm great. I'm so good. I'm getting hydrated. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to field any question you guys have for me. I'm so glad I get to be interviewed by Alex again. He's not good at his job, but he's great to make fun of. And I'm very intrigued to meet you, Will. It should be fun.
We did meet briefly in Chicago, and you might have mentioned me being ginger then as well, if I recall.
What an impression you made.
If I'm being honest, you don't have a memorable face at all. And if anything, I think you should be happy I didn't remember you, because the only time I usually remember people is if I have a bad outing with them. So congrats.
Oh, it's good to know. It's good to know, sir.
We got faces for radio, Will. We'll take it. That's why we landed where we did. Let's jump into it, man, because we all know last week, huge news. Well, 2 weeks ago now, but the first promo was last week. Yourself,
sure.
Ali, talking about the Pinnacle, man. Tell me all about it, how long it was in the works, because this Twitter video, I'm sure you've seen it. Every member of the Pinnacle.
I made it.
Yeah, well, there you go. Circulation.
What an idiotic thing. All right, keep going. Jeez,
come on, you've already said I'm bad. Come on, man. And but anyway, it's obviously every member of the Pinnacle has been kind of laying the groundwork. Like none of us saw it coming, and yet it was right in front of our eyes.
It's been in works since me and Sean Spears sat down and we gambled. We had a very serious conversation with one another. And I'll never forget when Dax and Cash came in, we immediately gravitated towards one another. And I thought to myself, these guys would fit in great. Wardlow, obviously, wherever I go, he goes. That's why I pay him such an exorbitant amount of money. And Tully was already working with Sean, and I got to talk to him that same night. The first time I got to sit down with Spears. You know, Spears and my relationship started off with a bit of a rocky start because at the time I was friends with a complete sociopath in Cody Rhodes. But, you know, once I got to know Sean, I realized he's a hell of a guy. You know, he's salt of the earth just like me. And, I mean, this thing's been in the works for a long time. It's been a long time coming, but, you know, I was able to be the fox in the hen house with the inner circle. I was able to take out the strongest faction to ensure that this new faction that I have built will go down as the greatest faction in the history of professional wrestling.
Are you ready for a backlash from the inner circle?
That is a very soulless question from you, Will, something I would have absolutely expected. Since you are devoid of having emotions or friends, allow me to answer in terms that you can understand. We like each other. We are friendly. Is he understanding, Alex, or should I talk slower?
Maybe slow it down. Maybe.
Okay. We are friends. No, but in all sincerity, we're all close. We all share a bond. We all love real professional wrestling, not the fake bullshit, flippity floppity, you know, hoo-ha, not the hardcore schmuck shit. It's real pro wrestling, real grappling, grinding somebody out, using actual legitimate techniques that has been held and placed down from generation to generation from guys, you know, the likes of a Tully Blanchard. And it's exciting times. It's truly exciting times. I love these guys.
And like you said, it's been in the works for a while, but then the execution that night when you actually turned the tables, everyone thought, oh no, Inner Circle have got MJF. No, they didn't. And you turned the tables on them right there.
No one's ever gotten MJF, and nobody ever will.
And how did it feel to have it executedly so perfect? And then Tully being the man to open things with that promo, that must have been pretty cool too.
It was, the word I'd use is delicious, because I felt the success in my mouth. It was palpable. I was eating it. I was chewing on it. Here's the deal, okay? Axeman, Dax, he walked up to me after this and he said, wow, man, like, you're the master manipulator. And I think most people would take that as a negative connotation, but not me, nor any of the members of the Pinnacle, because that is something that we take pride in. We are capable of getting anything that we want to happen. And that night, I mean, it could not have felt better. You know, to watch Chris's face when he thought he absolutely had me in, you know, a checkmate position when in reality, I was playing 4D chess, and he just had absolutely no clue. It was incredible. As far as Tully getting to cut that promo first, Tully is by far, as I said previously, the greatest mind in the history of professional wrestling. If you look back at interviews previously from people like you, from people like your friend that, watches Harry Potter movies in a very insensitive way, people would always ask me, like you guys, who are the people you looked up to? Who are the people that you studied? And my answers were always two names. It was Roddy Piper and it was Tully Blanchard. And it is now great. The fact that I'm already the best promo, let's face it, probably in the history of the business, and one of the greatest wrestlers in the business today, bell to bell. And I'm already that, but now I have this guy in my corner. I could pick his brain whenever I want. That should be scaring everybody because I'm already the most talked about name in this business. And I already know I was going to get better because I'm 25, but now I'm going to get better at an even more rapid rate. That should scare everyone.
Terrifying.
It is terrifying, but you talk about wanting to prove that the Pinnacle are the Pinnacle, that you are the best faction in the history of professional wrestling. What is the goal there? Is gold enough to prove it, or is there something more that you need to prove that you are the best?
All you have to do is hold all the gold, and that's something that we plan on doing. Realistically, people get a little bit confused in my profession as of late. Okay, Willie boy, and I hate it because they go out there and they're doing it because they're trying to entertain the fans. They want to make sure the fans are having a jolly good old time. I don't care. I genuinely, let me tell you something. I love the fact that there's little to no fan interaction this day and age. I'm like a pig in S word, okay? Absolutely. I've never been happier. And when all the crowds come back, I'm going to be miserable, okay? If you think I'm miserable now, just you wait until all the crowds come back. I only care about winning, as does Cash, as does Dax, as does Sean, as does Tully, as does Wardlow. We care about getting the winner's purse, and we care about getting the gold and proving we are the best professional wrestlers in the world. Not the best, ooh, look at me, I'm performing for you. I perform for no one. I don't put on an MJF outfit, the night before a show and prance through the curtain. This is not a costume, nor is it a costume for anybody else in the Pinnacle.
The Pinnacle is such an apt name. Is that straight from your mind?
I did create the name. Absolutely. I've had the name in my head now. Honestly, before AEW, I always thought to myself, if I were ever to be a part of the stable, I could not think of a better name than Pinnacle. I love it. It's the cream of the crop, top of the mountain, tip of the mountaintop. And I think it only makes sense for the guys that are in this stable. And I could talk on and on about how great every single stable member is. Every single member of the stable is.
I'm glad you did. Because I always wonder, right? Like everybody knows MJF. I'm not going to even call it the ceiling. Sky's the limit, right? What do you think the ceiling is for Wardlow? What can he do in this business?
There is none. I mean, let's face it. I think Wardlow is going to be an AEW world champion one day. Obviously, way after I'm done with my run. Like
sure.
way, way, way after. But I do think he's going to be a world champion one day. Look, I'm no dummy, okay? I am fully aware of the potential that the War Dog has, that Mr. Mayhem has. I compensate that man every single week. You think I'd be spending my hard-earned money on him if I didn't think he was going to be the next big thing in professional wrestling? I think Wardlow has all the potential in the world. There's a reason why the fans absolutely are in awe of him and his presence and his athleticism. And I couldn't be happier that he's on my side.
And boy, he gave it to Jericho, didn't he? Oof.
Well, Jericho had it coming. So.
Oof.
Yeah.
William?
Yeah, for you personally, and the reason I mentioned the gold before is I can remember seeing you pre-AEW, seeing you at Hell or High Water in Atlanta with Scorpio Sky. And it was the first time I'd seen you in person in a singles match. I'm sorry there was a crowd there reacting. I know that's not your preference, clearly. But that was the first time maybe my eyes were open to just how good you are in the ring. So when are we going to get another chance to see? It's been great you being the Fox in the Hen House, but getting to see you in singles action more regularly, maybe contending for titles.
Here's the thing that always intrigues me about people that ask me this question. One of the reasons why I loved guys like Piper was because he didn't wrestle simply to wrestle. He wrestled if there was meaning behind the match. He wrestled if he got something out of it. And that's what made him so intelligent. I don't wrestle unless I'm getting something out of it. I'm not going to go out there and wrestle Joe Schmo, for a small winner's purse. I'm only going to wrestle if the match has meaning. And it's been a minute since the match has. Last time I wrestled, it was for the World Tag Team Championships. All right, that makes sense. I'll sign my name on the contract on the dotted line for a match with implications where I can become a world champion. Makes sense, right? I'm not going to go out there on Dynamite and quote unquote, let's face it, put my health on the line, which a lot of you marks seem to forget. Every time we go out there, there's a possibility we could severely injure ourselves and or die. Fact. I'm not going to put my health on the line unless I deem it as something vitally important to my career.
I think we've established before, Max, that you did not lose to Jon Moxley, of course.
No, he cheated.
Right?
He used an illegal maneuver.
Is there a motivation then of forming the Pinnacle so that stuff like that doesn't happen again? That you're more equipped?
Again, here's what's so deft about MJF and my thought processes. I already had it in the works that I wanted a stable. I just wasn't quite sure what time to unleash it on the world. If you recall, about 6.5, 7 months ago, I wrestled a guy by the name of Griff Garrison. Now, after I defeated Griff Garrison, I grabbed the microphone and I talked about the fact that if I had a stable or if I was a part of a stable, I believe right now I would be the AEW World Champion. Because my friends who I'm friends with now, guys like FTR and Tully and Wardlow and Sean Spears, would never have allowed Jon Moxley to cheat the way that he did. I'd be world champion right now. And that's when it hit me. I need to form this stable right now, pronto. And then another thing hit me. Who is the biggest, the baddest stable in AEW at that time, 6-7 months ago? Alex?
Inner Circle.
Inner Circle. So if I wanted to make sure that I had the biggest, the best, the deadliest group in all of AEW, honestly, in all of professional wrestling, I had to take out the Inner Circle from the inside. And that's where the wheels started turning. The wheels started truly turning in motion for this group to become what it is now, which is an absolute phenomenon in only 2 weeks, was after Jon Moxley cheated me out of my AEW world title.
I've got to ask as well, like the Pinnacle being the Pinnacle, it seems like you want to dominate everything. Is there scope for a top female competitor in the Pinnacle? We just saw Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa absolutely tear the house down last week.
Brittany is absolutely incredible. I give her all the kudos and credit in the world. I think that she is the face of our women's division, hands down. Just as I am the face of our men's singles division. Just as FTR is the face of the tag division. Here's my thing. Do we need a woman in the Pinnacle right now? No, I don't believe so. May we need one down the line? Perhaps. Who is to say? What I will tell you is this. Whatever will make the Pinnacle solidify their spot as the best stable in the world is what I am going to do by any means necessary. So there.
I concur.
Feels like that build over the next couple of months now is going to be all about building up to Double or Nothing at the end of May. It's the big kind of pay-per-view on the horizon. So between now and then, what have you set out? What have you told the lads that they've got to do between now and then to dominate and to prove yourselves?
First of all, we need to make sure we all become number one contenders in the rankings in all of our respective spots. Whether that's Spears and Wardlow becoming number one contenders for that TNT title, whether that's Dax and Cash becoming number one contenders for the tag team championships, the belts they've already won and should have never lost, Young Bucks cheated, or whether it's me becoming the number one contender once again, as I was in the top 5 for God, almost since the inception of this company. I just recently was taken out of it because of the fact that I went for those tag straps with CJ. That is the job. That is the goal. The goal is for us all to become number one contenders, 110%. And the goal is also to be able to have Tully Blanchard as a legitimate coach for all of us in order to help us obtain that number one contendership as fast as humanly possible. As far as Chris Jericho and the Inner Circle goes, I feel we've already taken them out. We haven't seen them now. Do I think we're going to see them this week? Honestly, I hope so. I hope they limp their way to the ring so we can beat them down once again. Do I think it's going to be us building up to a match with the Inner Circle? I don't think so. I think here's what I think is going to happen. I think Chris Jericho is going to realize he's out of his depth. Okay. And I think he's going to tuck his tail in between his legs, and all the rest of his cohorts are as well. I think they're going to go, okay, they can have the top spot now. Because let's face it, they can't measure up. You put Hager in the ring with Wardlow, Wardlow's going to win. We've already seen it. You put Proud and Powerful in the ring with FTR, FTR's going to win. We haven't seen it yet, but it's a pretty far gone conclusion. You put Chris Jericho in the ring with MJF, MJF's going to win. We've already seen it. I've pinned him. Listen, you put Shawn Spears in the ring with Sammy Guevara. Let's face it. Obviously, Shawn Spears is going to beat Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara is about 5'3". It's all foregone conclusions. And I think the best thing they can do, as incredible as they are as talents, because do not get me wrong, Chris Jericho is the GOAT for now. Proud and Powerful are hands down one of the best tag teams in the world today. Jake Hager is undefeated in MMA and is one of the baddest MFers on the planet. Sammy Guevara exists. They have things going for them, okay? But they're not at the Pinnacle's level. There's a reason we're called the Pinnacle, because we are the cream of the top. And that it's that simple.
We know that you're a prize fighter. We've discussed this, right? You have to have something at stake.
Something tangible.
Sure, but a lot of fans are like, "Oh, maybe we'll get like a blood and guts or something of that iteration between yourself and Inner Circle." Is there a motivation to meet with them just to kind of rubber stamp it though? Would that be motivation for you? Just to purely finish them?
That was a good question.
Redeem myself, Will.
It's tough. That is a tough question. I'll tell you why. After watching all of these lights out matches and death matches and hardcore matches, after being in the ring with Jon Moxley and unfortunately at points being outside of the ring in his comfort zone, where he would be able to use the guardrails and the posts, I think a blood and guts match between the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle would go down as the most barbaric match in the history of professional wrestling. I think it would be grueling. I think it would be terrifying. I don't know if that's something I want to put my body through, nor do I know if that's something I want to put my boys in the Pinnacle through. However, if it did come down to that, we've seen it before. I can get just as sadistic as the rest of them if you cross me. I've proven that over and over again. I don't like going there. It makes me uncomfortable. It puts me in a bad place mentally for a couple of days. Granted, I do feel better after I hang out with a chick or two and I have a drink or two. I'm fine. Sure. But I don't know if I want to put myself in that place mentally again. However, like I said, if that match were to occur, I do believe it would go down as the most historic match in the history of my promotion, AEW.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you again to everyone that's joined the show today, to Zadaro, to Nick Aldis, to Joe Hendry, and most importantly, the main event. I think, Alex, we managed to get off reasonably lightly there, and he was, as always, brilliant. Maxwell, Jacob Friedman, thank you so much for your time.
Will, I just have one question before I leave.
Go on.
Do the carpet, does it match the drapes, or is that not something?
I'd say you'd have to ask Mrs. Gavin, but I have no intention of you and Mrs. Gavin ever meeting for fear of what that could bring.
If I'm being honest, Will, I don't think Mrs. Gavin is real. I'll see you.
Just wearing that for show. Max, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.